Hi, it's Erik and welcome to our video conversation this week. The world was shocked and rocked by the tragic terrorist attacks that took place in Paris, France just a week ago. We had 129 individuals killed, reminding us of our 9/11 here, of course, in the United States, and also reminding us that there are those that intend to do us harm from elsewhere around the world. We need to be vigilant, we need to stay on track, and we need to support our friends and allies in Paris, France, and around the world. We will also talk a little bit more about this with one of our questions. And now it's time to get to those questions. The first is an email from Erin and Osseo, and she writes in, Congressman Paulsen, as a millennial, I recognize that my generation has an essential role to play in helping to build a strong fiscal and economic future for our nation. I'm taking part in My 2 Cents Day, a national day of mobilization to raise awareness of the country's long-term fiscal challenges among my peers. My 2 Cents Day is a nonpartisan competition that empowers students to make their voices heard. I urge you to take action on these critical issues. Thank you, Erin. Erin, thanks for taking the time to write. And for those of you who aren't aware of what millennials are, it's essentially the generation of individuals born between, say, about 1982 to the early 2000s. And what's interesting is that we're talking about the largest generation of folks, population of people in the United States, about 83 million people, comprising 1 out of every 3 workers. The Joint Economic Committee had a hearing this week on issues that are facing and that are challenging for millennials, and I'm a part of that committee. Some of those issues include high student debt, underemployment, and we were looking at what are the policies that can be implemented or acted on to help these individuals in this generation, because one other startling statistic, and this is of concern, is that this is a generation that does not think that they will have the same opportunities and choices that the previous generations or that their parents have had. And that's something we need to fix and change, such as more flexible work schedules, for instance, so that they can have not just traditional 9-to-5 jobs, but making sure they've got more flexibility. So those are the types of policies that we're going to continue to be looking at in Washington. Next up is an email from Paula in Maple Plain, who writes in, Dear Congressman Paulsen, I'm very much concerned over the terrorism risk we are taking by allowing 10,000 Syrian refugees into our country. Please initiate or support any legislation that prevents the administration from executing its currently stated plan of allowing Syrian refugees into the United States. Very respectfully yours, Paula. Paula, thanks for sharing those thoughts. You know, America has always been a very compassionate and welcoming nation, welcoming refugees from around the world, especially religious minorities that are persecuted. That needs to continue, but we also need to understand, and it's been shown in the Paris attacks, that there are those that want to embed some of the terrorists into the refugee program, particularly Syrian refugees. It is absolutely appropriate, knowing that our top priority from the federal government's perspective is ensuring the safety and security of our country in America. It's appropriate that we would pause, that we would hold, that we would look at halting for the Syrian refugee program until we make sure there are absolute essential protocols in place that can completely vet and ensure safety and security from those individuals that are coming into the United States. The good news is legislation was swiftly acted on, passed in a bipartisan vote in the House this week that does implement that pause by requiring a certification from the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the National Intelligence Director, certifying that these individuals indeed are appropriately vetted and those protocols are in place. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to share your thoughts, your ideas, your questions. Continue to reach me, of course, on paulsen.house.gov on the website, or at Facebook, or at Twitter. Have a great rest of the week.